Greetings, and welcome to the Modern Alchemist channel. I'm Aubrey Forrest, the Modern Alchemist, and this is Ask an Alchemist. Today on Ask an Alchemist, I'm going to be answering a question from Sjauna Buttacavoli, who asks, I understand O being the 15th letter in the alphabet, but how do you figure the number 15 represents Capricorn Saturn? Well, Sjauna, here's your answer. Are you ready? I'm ready. Let's begin.
Shall we begin? Let's begin now.
First off, let's discuss the nature of Saturn. Saturn rules the astrological sign Capricorn, and that's why Saturn is associated with that sign. The causal reason can be attributed to the nature of Capricorn at the onset of the year. Capricorn is descriptive of a goat ascending a steep mountain or cliff, and therefore it is coming out of the abyss. Like if you were to visualize it, it would be like a mountain erupting out of the ocean, right? So it's the onset of a new year, and Capricorn is all about beginnings, and beginnings relate to creation and therefore creative gods or gods of creation. Now, that then ties us back to Saturn. Collectively on planet Earth, every faith that utilizes a hexagram, that's a six-pointed star, as a component of its observance, is tied in one way or another then to the planet Saturn. And this is simply an observable progression of associations that lead you to the more ancient reference deity Samekh, which is again Saturn. So, but overall, Saturn is a big player as a component of the observance of every world religion. So every major world religion, and so you can find a hexagram in Islam as well as in Israel. You can find a hexagram in Hindu Hindi practices, as well as in Buddhist practices, as well as in Christian or Catholic or Mormon. It's all of it. They all go back to this, and it has to do with Saturn's place within Kabbalah as a creative entity. Now, I've talked in other classes about what that means, and the fact that there's this interesting dualism that takes place where a creator god can also be considered a god of adversity, or your personal adversary, or as translated biblically then Satan, which means your personal adversary. And it should be known and understood that that word can be applied to a vast assortment of things. It doesn't necessarily have to be applied to some horned creature. If you're a mountain climber, your personal adversary could be Mount, I don't know, whatever mountain you happen to be climbing. but that then could become your contest, your contest with creation. See, and then of course creator gods are also tied to gods of temptation, and this is because they built the temptation into the system. So if you're weak, it's its fault. That's the logic, because you literally made me this way and then supplied things in my environment that caused me to be tempted. And this is why philosophically people are like, this is just really messed up. And causes a great deal of confusion. Well, all of that's tied to Saturn, and we can learn about that in a study of Kabbalah. We can learn about that in our pursuit of the esoteric as we deconstruct these mythologies and ask ourselves, what is really going on here? Well, the final thing that brings us to the number 15 is twofold, okay, that gives you that final association. The first is the easiest. It has to do with the name of God as presented in the Tetragrammaton, which is Yod He Vav He. The most abbreviated way that one could then express the name of God is Yod He. Okay? Within gematria, within the numerology of the Hebrew script, Yod equals 10 and He equals 5. So Yod and He, 10 plus 5, gets you to 15. Your correspondence to understanding this is tied within the Rider-Waite Tarot, where you'll see that the 15th card is, in fact, the Devil card. Now that you understand what I mean about gods of creation also being tied to gods of temptation, because from a given perspective they can be considered the same thing just with a different face, but it's the same station. They're still fulfilling the same role. Now you can look upon that card in that deck without fear, because you know that the horned animal representation there that is sort of reminiscent of Baphomet, kind of stylized a bit, is a representation of Capricorn, embodied within an anthropomorphic posture, meaning that it's part man, part goat. But not the South Park man, bear, pig. Now, here's a fun fact that you may have not considered in association with the number 15. Remember, the number 15 now is tied to gods of creation, right? Yod and He being combined to make the number 15. Well, in esoteric Western circles, often if you want to communicate a message, you will use what's called mirror script, which is just you reverse it. So instead of 15, it would be 51. Now, is there possibly any place on planet Earth that might be known for taking things apart which are unusual and also have the number 51 associated with them? Indeed there is. It's Area 51. And I don't think that it is accidental that the number is associated as it is, as a reflection of the processes that may have been intended at the first conception of that zone within the American Southwest. So anyway, there's your answer. That's how you get to the number 15 being tied to Saturn and Capricorn and the Devil card within the tarot. It's all part and parcel of the same thing. And it's part of that aspect where you begin to understand that a lot of things can have connections to a lot of things, and you discover you're really just talking about the same thing, but you're walking around it and gaining new perspective. And that's why, for instance, creator gods can also be considered gods of adversity, and they can also be considered gods of temptation. It all is part of the same bailiwick, which involves the personification of that ideal as the aspect of Saturn within Kabbalah. I hope that answered your question, and I hope you have a wonderful day. I'm Aubrey Forrest, the Modern Alchemist, and this has been Ask an Alchemist on the Modern Alchemist channel. I'll be talking to you soon.